The Sister Wives production just hit a wall, and Christine Brown is the one who built it. While TLC executives scramble to salvage their September 28th premiere date, their former golden child has gone completely rogue over what insiders are calling the most dramatic contract standoff in reality TV history. Here's what allegedly went down. Sources close to the production whisper that TLC marched into contract negotiations this summer with a bombshell demand. Christine needed to accept a cumulative $200,000 reduction in her guaranteed season 20 compensation. We're talking about slashing roughly 50% off her episode fees, the kind of cut that would make any seasoned reality star's accountant weep into their calculator. But Christine Brown, the woman who walked away from a plural marriage on national television, wasn't about to roll over for network executives. When those revised contract papers landed on her desk in mid-June, she did something that sent shockwaves through the production offices. She refused to sign. Not a counteroffer, not a negotiation request, a flat-out no. The timing makes this even more explosive. Filming had already begun for season 20. Cameras were rolling, crews were booked, locations were locked. This wasn't a pre-production disagreement that could be quietly resolved in boardrooms. This was Christine Brown essentially saying, "Stop everything," while millions of dollars in production costs hung in the balance. What happened next reads like a reality TV nightmare. Within 48 hours of Christine's refusal, production cameras went dark. Crews that had been capturing Brown family drama just days earlier were suddenly sent home. Set rentals that cost thousands per day were put on indefinite hold. The woman who helped build the Sister Wives empire had just brought the entire operation to a grinding halt. And here's the kicker. September 28th is breathing down everyone's necks. That's when TLC promised viewers their Sister Wives season 20 premiere. But with one of their main stars holding the entire production hostage over a contract dispute, those carefully planned promotional campaigns might be about as useful as Cody's relationship advice. Every woman who's ever stood up to a boss trying to slash her paycheck knows exactly what Christine is feeling right now. But most of us don't have the power to shut down a multi-million-dollar television production with a single signature refusal. Let's dive into the details of what TLC actually demanded, because the numbers are absolutely staggering. According to sources familiar with the contract negotiations, this wasn't just a modest budget adjustment, this was financial warfare disguised as business as usual. Christine Brown had been earning what industry insiders describe as top-tier reality compensation for Sister Wives, the kind of per-episode fees that reflect her status as one of the show's original stars. But when TLC executives sat down to hash out season 20 terms, they allegedly came armed with calculators and zero sympathy. The demand was brutal in its simplicity. Christine needed to absorb a $200,000 hit to her guaranteed compensation package. We're not talking about performance bonuses or appearance fees. This was her core episode money, the financial foundation that any reality star builds their yearly budget around. For context, that's roughly equivalent to asking someone to voluntarily surrender half their annual salary while still doing the exact same job. But here's where the timing becomes absolutely crucial. These contract revisions weren't presented during normal pre-production negotiations when stars have leverage and options. Sources allege that TLC waited until mid-June 2025, after filming had already commenced, to drop this financial bombshell on Christine's team. Picture the position this put her in. Cameras were already rolling on season 20. Her storylines were being captured. Her confessional interviews were scheduled. The entire production machine was humming along, and suddenly TLC shows up saying, "Oh, by the way, we need you to take a massive pay cut for all the work you're already doing." Any woman who's ever had a boss change the terms after she'd already started the project knows exactly how this feels. It's the professional equivalent of ordering dinner, eating half of it, then being told the price just doubled. Christine's response was swift and decisive. No negotiation, no request for time to consider, no counterproposal. Just a flat refusal that sent TLC executives into what sources describe as emergency mode. The woman who'd spent years building storylines around compromise and accommodation had apparently reached her limit on both fronts. The September 28th premiere date suddenly looked a lot less certain when one of your main stars decided she'd rather walk away than accept what she viewed as an insulting financial ultimatum. What happened next reads like a masterclass in how quickly a television empire can crumble when one person says, absolutely not. Within 48 hours of Christine's contract refusal, the Sister Wives production turned into what crew members are privately calling the most expensive standoff in reality TV history. Picture this scene, if you will. One day, camera crews are capturing regular Brown family drama at their Flagstaff locations. Lighting technicians are setting up confessional interviews, and production assistants are coordinating the intricate dance of reality television. The next day, complete radio silence. Sources close to the production whisper that the shutdown was immediate and comprehensive. We're not talking about a gentle production pause while lawyers worked things out behind the scenes. This was a full-scale evacuation. Camera crews that had been booked for weeks of Sister Wives filming were suddenly told to pack their equipment and head home. No timeline for return, no explanation beyond contract issues. The financial implications hit immediately. Set rentals that cost thousands of dollars per day were put on indefinite hold. Location fees that had been locked in for specific shooting dates became dead money, sitting in TLC's budget spreadsheets. Equipment rentals, crew salaries, catering contracts, all of it suspended while Christine Brown and network executives stared each other down from opposite sides of a $200,000 dispute. But here's where it gets even messier. This wasn't just about Christine's individual scenes. Sister Wives operates on an interconnected storyline structure where family dynamics drive the narrative. When you suddenly remove one of the main characters from production, every other storyline gets thrown into chaos. Robin's confessional interviews suddenly needed rewrites to explain Christine's absence. Cody's family meetings required completely different camera angles to account for the missing wife. Even simple establishing shots of family gatherings became logistical nightmares when one of the key players was nowhere to be found. Industry insiders suggest that TLC initially hoped Christine would cave under the pressure of a production shutdown. The thinking allegedly was that seeing crews sent home and budgets hemorrhaging would remind her just how many people depend on Sister Wives continuing smoothly. Instead, Christine Brown appeared to dig in deeper, her legal team making it crystal clear that she wasn't bluffing about walking away entirely. Every woman who's ever called a bluff at work knows exactly what this moment feels like. Sometimes you discover you hold more cards than anyone realized. Christine Brown wasn't just refusing to sign a bad contract, she was preparing for war. And when reality TV stars decide to fight back, they don't mess around with strongly worded letters. They bring in the legal artillery that can make network executives lose sleep. According to sources familiar with the situation, Christine's legal team moved with the precision of attorneys who've handled entertainment industry battles before. Within days of the production shutdown, TLC allegedly received a notice that made everyone's blood pressure spike. Christine's lawyers were threatening to file for injunctive relief if the network attempted to recoup any payments for work she'd already captured on camera. Let's translate that legal jargon into plain English. An injunction is essentially a court order that can stop someone from taking specific actions. In this case, Christine's team was reportedly preparing to ask a judge to prevent TLC from clawing back money for episodes that had already been filmed with her participation. Think of it as the ultimate you can't have your cake and eat it too legal maneuver. The timing of this threat was absolutely strategic. TLC had already invested significant production costs in season 20 footage that included Christine. Her confessional interviews, family interactions, and storyline contributions were sitting in editing bays, representing thousands of dollars in usable content. But if her legal team successfully argued that she was entitled to her original compensation for that work, the network would be stuck paying full price for a star they were trying to financially strong-arm. This is where Christine's years of reality TV experience really showed. She wasn't some naive newcomer who could be intimidated by corporate legal departments. Sources suggest her attorneys made it clear that any attempt to withhold payments for completed work would result in immediate court action, potentially creating a legal mess that could drag on for months. The injunctive relief threat also sent a message about Christine's commitment level. You don't threaten to tie up a multi-million-dollar television production in federal court unless you're absolutely serious about your position. Every entertainment lawyer in Hollywood knows that injunctions can be production killers, creating uncertainty that makes networks panic about premiere dates and advertiser commitments. TLC executives found themselves in an impossible position. They could try to proceed without Christine and risk a legal battle that might freeze season 20 entirely. Or they could attempt to negotiate with a star who'd already demonstrated she wasn't interested in compromise. Meanwhile, that September 28th premiere date wasn't moving, and every day of legal standoff brought them closer to a scheduling nightmare. For Christine Brown, this was the moment where walking away from Cody's manipulation prepared her perfectly for standing up to network manipulation. The woman who'd rebuilt her entire life after leaving plural marriage wasn't about to let TLC executives push her around over money she'd already earned. When Christine Brown brought Sister Wives production to a standstill, she didn't just affect her own filming schedule, she triggered a cascade of chaos that left everyone scrambling to salvage season 20. And the evidence of that panic is written all over the internal documents that sources are whispering about. Crew call sheets from early July tell the story better than any official statement ever could. These are the daily schedules that coordinate who shows up where and when for filming. Normally, they're precision documents that account for every camera angle, every interview slot, every family gathering that needs to be captured. But the July sheets allegedly show something unprecedented, multiple TBD slots where Christine's scenes were supposed to happen. TBD in television production is the equivalent of a financial emergency flare. It means to be determined, which is industry speak for we have no idea what we're doing right now. When you see TBD scattered across call sheets for a show that's been running for over a decade, you know something fundamental has gone wrong. The ripple effects hit immediately. Several key filming days at the Brown family's Flagstaff property were reportedly canceled outright or pushed to indefinite future dates. Ancillary shoots that depend on family dynamics, confessional interviews, drone footage of family gatherings, those establishing shots that set the scene for major conversations, all of it got shelved while executives figured out how to work around Christine's absence. But here's where the crew panic becomes almost audible. A senior production coordinator was allegedly overheard delivering what might be the most ominous warning in reality TV history. This could shut us down, not delay us, not complicate our timeline, shut us down entirely. Think about what that means for everyone involved. Camera operators who'd planned their summer around sister wives' paychecks suddenly faced uncertainty. Editors who'd been preparing to craft season 20 storylines found themselves staring at footage gaps that couldn't be easily filled. Location managers who'd coordinated complex family shoots discovered their carefully planned schedules meant nothing if one of the main characters refused to show up. The production team apparently tried everything they could think of to maintain filming momentum. Alternative storylines were hastily developed. Backup interview subjects were contacted. Even crew members started brainstorming ways to work around Christine's missing presence without making it obvious to viewers. But reality television depends on authentic family dynamics, and you can't fake the presence of someone who's fundamentally absent. Christine Brown's empty chair at family meetings wasn't just a missing person, it was a missing perspective, a missing voice, a missing piece of the puzzle that viewers had been following for years. Every woman who's ever watched a workplace try to function after a key team member walked out knows exactly how this feels. You can shuffle responsibilities and redistribute tasks, but some roles simply cannot be filled by committee. When your reality TV empire starts crumbling because one star refuses to play ball, you get creative fast. And TLC's solution to the Christine Brown problem reveals just how desperate things had become behind the scenes. According to sources close to the production, network executives made a decision that would have been unthinkable under normal circumstances. They asked Cody and Robin to essentially double their workload to cover Christine's missing storylines. Picture the awkwardness of this conversation. TLC producers allegedly approached Cody and Robin with what industry insiders describe as emergency content requests. Instead of their usual filming schedules, they were suddenly being asked to step in for family outings, interviews, and narrative moments that had been specifically designed around Christine's presence and perspective. This wasn't just about adding extra camera time. Christine Brown had developed into one of the show's most relatable voices over the years, especially for viewers navigating their own relationship challenges. Her absence created a storytelling vacuum that couldn't be filled by simply pointing cameras at other family members for longer periods. Internal emails reportedly reveal crew complaints about having to fill the gaps in Christine's storyline. These aren't just scheduling inconveniences, they're fundamental narrative problems. When you remove a main character from an ongoing family drama, every other character's story arc gets thrown off balance. Conversations that were supposed to involve 4 perspectives suddenly only have 3. Family dynamics that depended on Christine's unique position as the practical voice lost their emotional anchor. Cody and Robin found themselves in the impossible position of trying to create content that could substitute for Christine's missing presence without actually addressing why she wasn't there. Sources suggest this led to some incredibly awkward filming sessions where everyone had to pretend the elephant wasn't sitting right there in the living room. The crew complaints reveal another layer of the problem. Television production operates on carefully planned logistics where everyone knows their role and responsibilities. When you suddenly tell camera operators they need to capture double the footage from remaining family members or ask editors to stretch storylines that were never designed to carry entire episodes, you're essentially asking people to perform miracles with limited resources. But here's the most telling detail. The fact that TLC was willing to completely restructure their proven formula reveals just how serious Christine's financial standoff had become. For over a decade, Sister Wives had operated with a specific balance of personalities and perspectives. Christine's refusal to accept the pay cut didn't just affect her individual scenes, it threatened to unravel the entire show's dynamic. Every woman who's watched a workplace scramble when a key team member refuses to accept unfair treatment knows exactly what this looks like. You can shuffle responsibilities and ask other people to work harder, but some expertise and perspective simply cannot be replicated by committee. The September 28th premiere date was getting closer, and TLC's backup plan was starting to look a lot like wishful thinking disguised as television production. Christine Brown's contract rebellion isn't happening in a vacuum, it's part of a seismic shift that's rocking the entire reality television industry. And understanding that bigger picture reveals why her timing was absolutely strategic, whether she planned it or not. Across the reality TV landscape, networks are wielding budget axes with unprecedented aggression. Streaming wars have fractured audiences, advertising revenue is under pressure, and production costs keep climbing, while viewership numbers plateau. The result? Stars who built their careers during reality TV's golden age are suddenly being told their market value has plummeted. Industry insiders whisper about similar pay cut demands hitting established reality stars across multiple networks. The Housewives franchise has reportedly seen quiet renegotiations, where longtime cast members face take-it-or-leave-it, reduced compensation packages. Competition shows that once guaranteed substantial appearance fees are now offering significantly less money for the same time commitments. But here's what makes Christine's situation particularly fascinating from an industry perspective. Sister Wives represents old-school reality television, the kind of long-running family documentation that built TLC's brand identity. These aren't easily replaceable competition show contestants or rotating cast members. The Brown family dynamic is the product, and you can't simply swap out core family members without fundamentally changing what viewers are buying. Christine's refusal to accept the $200,000 cut sends a message that extends far beyond her individual contract. She's essentially telling the industry that established reality stars won't quietly absorb network budget problems without a fight. That's a dangerous precedent from TLC's perspective because every other reality star watching this standoff is taking notes. The timing also highlights a crucial leverage point that many reality stars miss. Christine made her stand after filming had already begun, when TLC had already invested significant production costs in season 20 content. Walking away during pre-production discussions is one thing. Stopping a moving production train is an entirely different level of financial pressure. Smart industry observers are noting that Christine picked the perfect storm moment. TLC needed Sister Wives content for their fall lineup. Streaming competition has made proven programming more valuable, and the September 28th premiere date created an artificial deadline that worked in her favor rather than against it. For women watching this unfold, there's a broader lesson about recognizing your own leverage in professional negotiations. Christine Brown spent years being the accommodating wife who went along with arrangements that didn't serve her best interests. Her divorce from Cody taught her about walking away from situations where compromise meant accepting less than she deserved. Now she's applying that same energy to her professional relationships, and TLC executives are discovering that the woman who rebuilt her entire life after leaving plural marriage isn't particularly interested in their corporate manipulation tactics either. The reality TV industry is watching this standoff closely because Christine's success or failure could determine how future contract negotiations play out across every network. By late July, TLC executives were reportedly feeling the heat of their September 28th deadline, and desperate times called for what they probably thought was a generous compromise. According to sources familiar with the negotiations, network brass decided to meet Christine halfway, literally. They allegedly offered to split the $200,000 pay cut down the middle, asking Christine to absorb $100,000, while TLC would cover the remaining $100,000 themselves. On paper, this probably looked like corporate wisdom to TLC's negotiation team. They could frame it as, "We're willing to share the financial burden while still achieving significant budget savings." From their perspective, asking Christine to take a $100,000 hit instead of $200,000 represented meaningful movement toward compromise. But Christine Brown had apparently learned something crucial during her divorce from Cody. When someone starts a negotiation by demanding you accept fundamentally unfair terms, meeting them halfway still leaves you holding an unfair deal. Her response to TLC's generous compromise offer was reportedly swift and unambiguous. She stood firm on declining any reduction whatsoever. Think about this from Christine's perspective for a moment. She'd already proven her value to Sister Wives over more than a decade of television. Her storylines consistently generated viewer engagement. Her personal journey from plural marriage to independence had created compelling content, and her authentic personality had helped build the show's loyal fan base. Now TLC was asking her to voluntarily declare herself worth $100,000 less than her established market value. Every woman who's ever been asked to accept just a small pay cut in exchange for keeping her job knows exactly what this moment represents. It's the professional equivalent of being told you should be grateful for the opportunity to make less money while doing the same work that previously earned full compensation. The compromise offer also revealed something telling about TLC's position. If the network was willing to absorb half the pay cut themselves, it suggests the original $200,000 demand wasn't based on Christine's actual market value or contribution to the show. It was purely a budget exercise disguised as contract negotiation. Christine's legal team likely advised her that accepting any reduction would set a precedent for future seasons. Today's $100,000 cut becomes next year's starting point for even deeper reductions. The woman who'd spent years watching her sister wives accept diminishing treatment from Cody had learned the dangers of incremental compromise. Sources suggest that TLC executives were genuinely surprised by Christine's continued refusal. They'd apparently expected their split-the-difference offer to resolve the standoff and get production back on track. Instead, they found themselves facing a reality star who'd calculated her worth and wasn't interested in negotiating downward from that position. The September 28th premiere date was now less than 2 months away. Editing teams were sitting on incomplete footage, and their main holdout had just demonstrated she was more committed to her principles than their timeline. As of mid-September, the Sister Wives production has entered what industry insiders are calling television purgatory, that liminal space where millions of dollars hang in the balance while two sides refuse to blink first. And the evidence of this standoff is written across every aspect of the show's pre-production planning. Christine Brown remains completely absent from any new call sheets for upcoming shoot dates. We're not talking about reduced filming schedules or modified storylines. She's been entirely scrubbed from production planning until a final contract agreement materializes. For a show that has centered family dynamics around Christine's presence for over a decade, this absence creates logistical nightmares that extend far beyond simple scheduling conflicts. Meanwhile, editing teams have received what sources describe as the most frustrating instruction in television production: hold everything. Episodes that should be in final post-production stages are sitting in digital limbo, while executives wait to see if Christine's contract status resolves. Think about the cascade effect this creates. Promotional materials can't be finalized. Episode descriptions remain tentative, and marketing campaigns are being developed around content that might never air. The September 28th premiere date has transformed from a launch target into a corporate sword hanging over everyone's heads. TLC's fall programming lineup was built around Sister Wives, anchoring their Sunday night reality block. Advertisers have been sold commercial space based on expected viewership numbers that assume the show will actually exist. Promotional partnerships with other networks and streaming platforms are locked in around that specific date. But here's where Christine's leverage becomes almost mathematical. Every day that passes without resolution makes TLC's position more precarious. They could theoretically move forward with Season 20 content that excludes Christine entirely, but that would require explaining her absence to viewers who followed her journey for years. Alternatively, they could push the premiere date, but that creates scheduling conflicts with other programming and potentially breaks contractual obligations with advertisers. Christine, meanwhile, appears to be in no hurry whatsoever. Sources suggest she's been using this extended break from filming to focus on her independent business ventures and spending time with her children outside the reality TV spotlight. The woman who once organized her entire life around Sister Wives production schedules is reportedly enjoying the freedom of making her own timeline. This is where her post-divorce confidence really shows. The Christine who left Cody's plural marriage discovered she could build a fulfilling life without constantly accommodating other people's demands. Now she's applying that same energy to her professional relationships, and TLC executives are learning that financial pressure tactics work a lot better on people who feel desperate than on people who've already proven they can walk away. Every woman who's ever held firm during a workplace standoff knows exactly what this moment feels like. That mixture of anxiety and empowerment when you realize you're more willing to lose the opportunity than accept unfair treatment. So here we stand, less than a week away from what was supposed to be Sister Wives' triumphant Season 20 premiere, and absolutely nobody knows how this corporate chess match ends. But the possible outcomes range from industry-shaking precedent to complete franchise collapse, and every scenario has implications that extend far beyond Christine Brown's bank account. Scenario 1 is the full Christine victory. TLC blinks first, restores her original compensation package, and filming resumes with enough time to cobble together a respectable September 28th premiere. This outcome would send shockwaves through reality television, proving that established stars still hold significant leverage when they're willing to use it. Every other reality personality watching this standoff would suddenly have a blueprint for standing up to network pay cuts. Scenario 2 involves TLC calling Christine's bluff entirely. They proceed with Season 20 using existing footage, craft storylines around her absence, and bet that viewer loyalty to the Sister Wives brand transcends individual cast members. This is the nuclear option that could either prove Christine was replaceable or demonstrate that some reality stars are irreplaceable pillars of their shows. The compromise scenario seems increasingly unlikely given both sides' demonstrated commitment to their positions. Christine has already rejected the split the difference offer, and TLC has shown they're willing to halt production rather than restore her full compensation. When negotiations reach this level of entrenchment, middle ground becomes almost impossible to locate. But there's a fourth possibility that industry observers are whispering about the delayed season scenario. TLC could push the premiere date, giving themselves breathing room to resolve the contract dispute without the artificial pressure of the September deadline. This would require explaining the delay to advertisers and potentially disrupting their entire fall lineup, but it might be preferable to launching a diminished version of their flagship show. For Christine personally, this standoff represents the ultimate test of lessons learned from her plural marriage experience. She's betting that her value to sister wives is significant enough to justify holding firm on her financial worth. If she wins, she proves that reality stars don't have to accept diminishing treatment just because networks demand it. If she loses, she joins the ranks of former reality personalities who discovered their leverage wasn't as strong as they believed. The broader implications reach every corner of reality television. Christine's success or failure will influence how future contract negotiations unfold across every network. Will established reality stars start demanding inflation-adjusted compensation instead of accepting cuts? Will networks develop strategies for replacing seemingly irreplaceable personalities? What's clear is that Christine Brown has transformed from accommodating sister wife to uncompromising business negotiator, and that evolution might be the most compelling storyline Sister Wives has produced in years. The woman who rebuilt her entire life after walking away from Cody's manipulation isn't particularly interested in accepting TLC's manipulation either. A fresh video is already queued up, and something tells me the next round of Sister Wives drama will be even juicier than the last. Do you think Christine will ultimately force TLC to restore her full compensation? Which outcome has you rooting the hardest for reality TV justice? Drop your predictions below, tap like, hit subscribe, and keep those notifications on, because when this standoff finally resolves, you're going to want to hear about it the moment the news breaks.